Going to mention a couple of things about 20th century Iran and 19th century Iran. It's very important to just remember what the British Empire, what the British and the Russian Empire were up to in that context. They were trying to keep Iran as a buffer between their imperial goals. And British were in India, wanted Russia to be nowhere close to them. So when you read that history, just keep that in mind. They wanted a weak Persia, back then Persia, Iran. They didn't want it weak to fall in the hand under the total control of the other one, but they wanted it to be weak. And lo and behold, 1797, when the new, at the time, Qajar dynasty took over, right when the world, all over the world, the technological change and modern politics, democratic movements were coming to take shape, Iran got one of the worst ever dynasties. In the context of time, the worst dynasty, the worst backward dynasty ever for a century and for 1.25 century. It's just awful for the history of Iran, and the consequences have just been reverberating. And of course, the British and Russians and their policies did not help. So definitely look at Iranian history in that context. And also remember, Iran was not as populated, less than 5 million people at the time. It was a population was spread out over a vast distance. So when you look at the history of Iran, it's important to remember it's almost like the population was small town here, small town there, with God knows how much separation between them, with no forms of communication. Just keep that in mind when you want to picture Iran at the time. So I'll come across some documentaries that probably will talk to about the British and Russian imperial going-ons back for then, and I'll recommend them to you just so that you know this thing was not happening in a vacuum. John Limbert, Trida Parsi, listen to some of their talks. Would be interesting. You'll know their biographies. Just look them up. On the coup, I probably have to mention it in another video.